Satisfação que eu recebo todos os participantes do primeiro Seminário Internacional Patrimônio, História intelectual e Cultura na África Ocidental para a nossa conferência de encerramento do seminário. Foram 3 dias intensos, de atividades muito produtivas, e acho que essa será uma ótima oportunidade para lançar algumas reflexões finais sobre os temas que a gente tem tratado ao longo dessa semana. A nossa conferência de encerramento vai ser proferida pelo professor Hassum Sisay e tem como título Fatou Khan, a amante do comissário colonial, uma visão sobre a moral do relacionamento amoroso na Gâmbia colonial, de 1900 a 1945. Eu vou fazer uma breve apresentação do professor Hassum Sisay. Hassum nasceu em Panchang, no Gâmbia, e a formação acadêmica dele inclui, primeiramente, uma formação técnica em Geografia na Faculdade do Gâmbia e depois uma formação em História no St. Mary's University, no Canadá, além de uma rápida passagem pelo Fora Bay College, em Serra Leoa, que é a mais antiga das instituições universitárias em moldes europeus na África Ocidental. Depois disso, o professor Hassum obteve pós-graduação em Museologia na Universidade de Nairobi e mestrado em História da África, com dissertação em que desenvolveu o tema de associações de mulheres no Gâmbia na época colonial. Atualmente desenvolve sua pesquisa de doutoramento na Universidade de Birmingham, com pesquisa sobre administração colonial no Gâmbia. Hassum Sisay é curador do Museu Nacional do Gâmbia e, desde 2008, tem atuado também como diretor de Patrimônio no Centro Nacional para as Artes e Cultura, além de ser também conferencista na Universidade do Gâmbia. Suas publicações incluem volumes autorais sobre mulheres e patrimônio cultural no Gâmbia, além de artigos sobre temas como gênero, administração colonial e cultura no Gâmbia. E, atualmente, o professor Hassum tem se dedicado a temas que envolvem a relação entre tráficos de pessoas e exploração sexual de mulheres da África para a Europa. Então, eu passo a palavra para o professor Hassum Sisay para que ele possa proferir a conferência de encerramento.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to start by thanking the organizers of this conference for inviting me. Starting from my friend, Thiago, to Professor, Vanizelas, also, and Felipe, for helping with the PowerPoint. Also, my, friends from Inep, who are here with me. I want to convey my, thanks and gratitude for this opportunity. Now, my topic, it's a true story. And Fatou Khan is a real character. I came across her saga, some years ago while doing research in the archives in Banjul, colonial history. And I came across a set of files on the saga, on this affair, between this rural woman in the Gambian Protectorate, late 1910s, who, by virtue of her amorous relationship with the British traveling commissioner, became very powerful in the Gambian district, in the central, in the center of the country. I have not stopped since then, probing deeper and deeper into this affair. And I have decided to address it at this conference, because the more I go deep into the files, the more I see the interconnections with literacy, heritage, culture. All are intertwined. All are sort of, into the African story. Yeah, you can go to the next slide. Now what really impresses me about her story is that she was not among the elite women of colonial Gambia, British Gambia, as we were called until 1965. She was not a professional woman also. Not a teacher, not a nurse, not a typist, or any of the, the stereotypical, professions of women in the colonial period. And of course, she was not the wife of a British governor or any of the senior officials. She was just an ordinary, village woman who used charm, some bit of wit, some bit of literacy, and she exploited, cultural norms to have so much, power and influence, among the European officials. You see, she, sort of, exploited, the complex Gambian culture of the extended family. Because he was a relative to the chief, to the local chief, one of the powerful Gambian colonial chiefs. So she exploited that to get closer to the, colonial commissioner, the British commissioner. And, that developed into a relationship. And she, used the relationship, to her own advantage, to profit from it. And also for a long time, to, protect, the chief, who was, her uncle. Yeah, okay. Now, the issue of women in Gambian, in colonial history, like in Gambia in particular, is very interesting. But I must say, it's not well, written on. But because most of the information we have, or like the works, on women in, colonial, history, want to address them from their role as producers of, rice, particularly, rice cultivation, and food production, during the colonial period. Okay, but what is largely missing, and which I want to address in this particular case, is the little kept secret. In fact, it's a well kept secret. And this I have found so far 4 cases of colonial women. Gambian women, colonial period, having, amorous, relationship with the British colonial officials. So far I've, come across 4 cases. So the African case is just like a case study. It's just like the one I want to, share with you, here. And like I said, it's interesting because we have, in the African story, the issues, which this conference seeks to address: culture, heritage, literacy. Yeah. Yeah. Now, like I said at the beginning, a woman did not play any formal role in the protectorate administration. Like British system, you had the colony, which was the capital, Batos, and you had the protectorate. Women were not, seen, like in colonial protectorate administration. Of course, they were not chiefs. they were not village headmen, of course, and women also did not sit in the district tribunals, which were, presided over by the chiefs. And to add to this, the colonial officials in Gambia, they hardly, came along with their wives, or their spouses. So this made women quite invisible in the colonial, enterprise in Gambia. Okay. But having said this, sometimes, the chiefs, the district chiefs, the colonial chiefs, they had wives, who, played some informal roles, like to settle matrimonial disputes, supervise the distribution of food. Now and then when the governor or some senior, British colonial official is coming, the wives of the chiefs will mobilize, to give welcome, and so on and so forth. So they played this, informal role, to some extent. Yeah, next one. Yeah, next go. Yeah. I was able to fish out Fatou Khan's photo. You can see regal, well dressed there, in typical West African, or I can say Senegambian attire. Okay. I was able to fish out this photo from the record of the Commission of Inquiry, which was called into her matter, into her affair in 1919. Just to show you how seriously the British took this matter. They even had to commission like a colonial photographer to have an image of Fatou Khan. And luckily the image survives in the archives. But in Fatou Khan's story, we simply want to illustrate the power, okay, that a woman had in the running of the affairs of the district in colonial Gambia during this period. Yeah, you can go to the next one. Now, what is, I'll just give a summary of, the Fatou Khan affair. Okay? Now, in 1919, one of the, commissioners, like colonial Gambia, was divided into the protectorate, and you had, 4 commissioners. Okay? And one of them, McCallum, was the commissioner for the North Bank. If you look at the map of the Gambia, it's simple. There is no east. In Gambia, we don't have east or west, like north or south. We only have a north bank of the river. You either live on the north bank of the river. You can, show them the map again. No, it's, yeah. You either live on the north bank of the river or on the south bank of the river. So our geography is, we don't usually have east, west, central. We just say the north bank of the river, or south bank of the river. And now the British commissioner, yes, you can go back. The British commissioner, McCallum was commissioner for the North Bank. Okay, and in 1919, the scandal broke that she was in a sort of a love triangle with, Fatou Khan and 2 other relatives of Fatou Khan. But all the 3 women were relatives of the chief of the district called Upper Salom. Okay? So that's the thing, okay? Fatou Khan, her name appears, in the records, okay? And like she was the lead. But apparently the British commissioner, had relations with all the 3 women, okay? And all the 3 women also, happened to live in the household of the district chief. Okay? So that's the first part of the affair. Now, for many years, Fatou Khan used her relationship, with Mikalom to have a lot of, power. For example, every year, she will go around the villages and ask the village headmen, to give rice, millet, okay, to her. Now and then she will even, extort money, from the village heads, okay, and tell them that, if you don't give me, I will report you to the commissioner. So they will give, her what, she asked for, okay. Like even traders, the merchants, she can go and collect things, and she will not pay, okay. But everybody knew that she had a relationship with the white, commissioner. So they all deferred to her. They all deferred, to her. And now the chief, okay, in whose, household, she was living, also enjoyed, this, because, she was an uncle to Fatou, so therefore Fatou will always protect, the chief. And then, when the chief, does something wrong, like, embezzle, monies, collected, for tax, if, the commissioner wants to take action, Fatou Khan will, make sure that nothing happens to her uncle. Okay? Yeah. So she benefited, but her uncle, the chief, also felt protected. Because the commissioner will never, call the chief, to attention. See. So this situation, continued, for a very, very long time. And then suddenly, in early 1919, the affair, sort of exploded into a scandal. Okay, and before going into that, I just wanted to say that for a very, very long time, like I said, the chief of the district, who was a very powerful chief, one of the early British appointed chiefs in the Gambian Protectorate, enjoyed it all because he felt protected. Okay, but as time went on, the chief thought that, Fatou was, getting too, too uppity, too arrogant. So the chief decided to, put a halt, to Fatou's, if you like, shenanigans, if you like. Okay. But there was a problem. How would the chief, bring Fatou to book? How will the chief, sort of bring a stop to what Fatou, was doing? Okay. What the chief decided to do was to have somebody in Batos, who was a journalist, okay, like educated, one of the few Gambians educated at the time, to write a report, okay, detailing the entire, affair. How, the British, commissioner was in this love triangle, and how, Fatou Khan, one of the, women, had so much power that she was extorting money, she was extorting, crops, okay? And, the chief was able to have, all this documented in the form of a petition, okay? And this petition, was written by one of the, the few educated people at the time, in the name of, Mr. Edward. Okay, you can go. Okay, you can go. Yeah. Go. Oh, you have to go back. Yes, I need Yes, let's go. I need the feature, the photo of Mr. Small. He's a very interesting character. This Small. Let's go. No. Yes, I'll just continue going. He's a very interesting character. Yes. Yes, he's a very interesting character. He's the one, he was like the whistleblower. Yes, into this affair. He was a newspaper editor in Batos, now called Banjul. Far away, like 200 kilometers from where this thing was happening. This, this affair was happening. But the chief managed to contact him to give him all the details, of the affair. Okay, and what the chief wanted was to bring the affair of the traveling commissioner with the woman into attention. I think the chief wanted two things here. To embarrass the traveling commissioner, and also to put a halt, to the increasing powers of Fatu, who was, like a niece, to the chief. Okay, so Mr. Small, whom you see in the photo, played the role of a whistleblower, and he was able to do this because he was among the few people, including at the time, to have gone to school. Among the 4 British colonies in West Africa: Gambia, Sierra Leone, Ghana, and Nigeria. The Gambia, was the least, as far as educational opportunities, were concerned. Until the 1930s, there was no secondary school in Gambia. I mean, you went up to standard 7. And if you have to go beyond that to secondary school, you have to go to Sierra Leone, like to Freetown, to attend secondary school. So Small, he was one of the rare Gambians who at this time attained secondary education. And when he returned, he established a newspaper. Okay, I am at pains to to highlight this, just to bring in a bit about the intellectual situation at the time, like in a British colony like Gambia. All the schools, the few schools were run by the Catholic missions, or to some extent by the Anglicans. And for you to have any education above primary, you really had to come from a rich family, like the Kirio. The Kirio are descendants of liberated Africans who were resettled in Sierra Leone and in Gambia. They are called the Kirio. And because they were mostly Christian, and they were the first to embrace Western education, so they were able to also become the first educated elite, the intellectual elite, in both Gambia and in Freetown, in Sierra Leone. You see. So, Small was one of the Creole intellectuals whom the chief approached to write the petition. Okay, detailing the affairs of the British traveling commissioner. Okay, and when Small got the news from the chief, he wrote a lengthy petition. The full length of the petition is also in the archive. It's well preserved, locally, and he had about 12 pages, to write, detailing, what the chief, told him that, the traveling, the commissioner for North Bank Province, was engaged in. Okay, and it was really well articulated. It was a well articulated, petition, so that when the petition reached the British governor in Batos, he could not ignore it. Yeah, it was not the kind of petition which the governor would just put into a drawer, and allow it to to age. the governor, felt, sort of impelled to like form or establish a commission of inquiry to probe into the affair. Now, I mentioned this commission of inquiry because that also was, quite rare in colonial, Gambia. I mean, mostly, petitions, sometimes were just, ignored. But for the first time, I, came across a petition which necessitated a commission of inquiry. So maybe that also explains, the seriousness, with which the British authorities, viewed. So the commission sat for almost 2 weeks. Okay, for 2 weeks, and they listened to everybody. Yeah, I mean the commission listened to everybody. Let me go back to the chief. Yeah, let's go. Okay, no, forward. Yeah, yeah. I mean they sat for 2 weeks, and they listened to everybody. Yeah, you can go. Yes, go. Yeah, back. Yeah, go. And they listen to everybody. Go on. Yeah. Just at the start. I just go towards the start, please. Towards the start of the presentation. Yeah. Okay, come back. Yeah. Yes. I want to show you the chief. Yeah, go back. Okay. Yes, go. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yes. And now the chief went, to the commission. You can see him, they are well dressed, like in typical, chief's attire. Chief used to dress very well. I mean, they had this sartorial elegance, just like, our ancient, kings, colonial chiefs in the colonial period. They dressed to style. They dress very well. And, they like to mount horses, carry jujus, swords, and all the, the emblems, and the accoutrements, of office, of traditional office. So, I mean, the women also spoke at the commission. Yes, their testimony is in the archives. All what happened, their liaison with Mikalom. The chief also gave testimony. Mikalom himself also gave testimony. Yes, he just maybe the commission gave him this cathartic, I mean, sort of opportunity because he admitted. Yeah, he admitted to the affairs. Yeah, he didn't try to deny anything. He admitted that it was true. She was in like a sort of a relationship, love relationship, okay, and that, I mean, she, want to take, responsibility, for everything. And according to the, commission's, the minutes of the commission, Fatu also admitted, yeah, that she used to levy, taxes, from chiefs, village heads, and she would collect this, and sell it, in battles, to get money. Okay, so that was the, the commission. So the commission, wrote a report, and what they did was to, retire Mikalom. Okay, he was forced to retire. Okay, with an annual, grant, like a pension, like a stipend. Okay, and like what I found particularly interesting, also about the commission, was how, they were able, to accept, sort of, responsibility, and also, to levy or to exact, punishment, on a British colonial official. This was also very rare, in colonial history, in Gambian colonial history. Yeah, how they were able to, accept responsibility, and also, to levy punishment, on the the colonial commissioner. Now, with all this story, like I said, so many things, you can, come into, play. Is another, you can go again, So many things come into play. No, just the one before, Now, so many things come into play in this. Like I said, the affair, you have a lot of, things, which are cultural, which we have to understand if we look at it from a cultural prism. For example, the issue of concubinage, which is quite like a cultural phenomenon in colonial Gambia. Okay, it's quite a phenomenon. Okay, such that to strengthen her influence on the British traveling commissioner, Fatu not only accepted to go into concubinage, with Mikalon, but also brought in two other relatives, as it was like a deliberate attempt to entrap the colonial commissioner, to entrap the colonial commissioner, and that reminds us the issue of concubinage. Now, usually we have seen at the beginning where some of the chiefs and the pre-colonial kings had problems with the British authorities, because when they came, when the British come to a chief's house, and found more than 4 women, 4 wives, which is the legal for Muslims, they will term all the others as sort of concubines. Okay, and even we see in the case of Musa Molo, who was among the last kings in what is today followed to Gambia, followed to Senegal, extending up to Gabu in Guinea-Bissau. How he fell out with the British, because he had he had many wives and concubines who numbered in the dozens, which the British could not understand. So what they did was he was arrested for sort of keeping slaves, keeping women in sexual slavery. So you can see that now and then the British officials will they themselves engage in concubinage, which normally they will not look at favorably when it is done by the local Gambian chiefs. So that's like a cultural practice which comes out clearly in the Fatukan story. Now another very, very interesting issue, like cultural issue, has to do with chiefs and the need for them to offer comfort to the British officials. And I have done some research in this. When you are a British governor or a British traveling commissioner, you go around the villages, you expect the chief to give you comfort. For example, there used to be something called rest houses. Yeah, these are like auberges, where the white man, like either the governor or the British official, will stay, when he comes to the village, because he cannot live like in the same environment, as the villagers. So usually they will find for him like a special hut, well taken care of, well built, well ventilated, cool, with lots of trees. Sometimes even, the hut is built, on the highest point in the village, maybe on a hill. Okay. Now these were called rest houses, and it was the duty of every, chief, a colonial chief, to maintain a rest house, because it was, part of what I can call colonial comfort, for the British officials. Okay, and even there's another photo where the guy is. It was like another colonial comfort. When the chief arrives in the district, when the commissioner arrives in the district, the chief will mobilize, strong-bodied men, to carry him and his luggage on a hammock. So the rest house is a form of comfort. The hammock is also was like a form of comfort, which the chiefs were expected to provide, to the traveling commissioners. Okay, and here also, this is why even we see that Chief Sawalo, allowed, okay, Fatukan and two others, in his household, to go into this relationship, with the British official, okay, because I'm sure the chief, saw the relationship, just like another form, like offering another form of comfort, to the British colonial official. And sometimes when you look at the confidential reports prepared by the British commissioners on the chiefs, if you are a chief and you fail to give them comfort, they write it in your report. Yes, and I have seen one or two chiefs who lost their jobs because they say the rest house they provided for the traveling commissioner was not adequate, was not well kept. So I see the Fatukan story, just as like a prolongation, like an extension of this desire and the expectation for chiefs, to offer comfort to the colonial, to the colonial officials. Okay, and now another typical, African, heritage in this is the African extended family. Okay, because like I said, all the three women, stayed in the chief's house, like in the chief's compound. They were part of his extended relations. Okay, so I'm sure it was whilst there that, they caught in the eye of the British colonial official. So the extended family system, and the extended family system, works in two ways. Okay, Ifatu, he protected, her uncle. Okay, for many years, against, the British, traveling commissioner. But at the same time, also, the chief also protected Fatu, allowing her to stay inside the compound. Okay, and that's how the African extended family system works. There is a sense of entitlement on both sides. Okay, you are entitled to support me, but I am also entitled, to give you, what you need. Yes, I wanted to. Okay. Yeah, no, it's fine. And now also, like another very, very interesting aspect of the affair is, has to do, with literacy. And like I said, the intellectual elite, of colonial Gambia. I've mentioned, how small became the whistleblower, one of the first intellectuals, like in colonial Gambia. But also I realized that, Fatu was able to, manipulate, okay, her way, because of two things. Fatu was able to teach, Mikalom, the Wolof, her language. Yes, she was able to teach, Mikalom to speak, Wolof. And in fact, Mikalom, the commissioner, the British, commissioner became so fluent in Wolof that he wrote the first Wolof grammar and dictionary. Okay? Yes. Mikalom wrote the first Wolof grammar, and dictionary. So Fatu was illiterate, okay, as she couldn't read or write in English, but she was smart enough to teach Mikalom to read and write Wolof until Mikolam was able to write the first Wolof grammar and dictionary, and which for many years, even after Mikolam's retirement, was like the standard reference book on the Wolof of Gambia for colonial officials. You see, so that also I find very, very interesting. And like I said here, the literary or the intellectual history of West Africa is enriched, by such, self-serving efforts by the colonial officials to learn, and vulgarize, the local languages. In this case, Wolof. And now, still talking about intellectual history, the role of the interpreter in the affair, a colonial interpreter, is also very, very important. Because from the files I learned that sometimes when Mikolam, goes to Scotland for holidays, Fatu will still be doing, some paperwork, such that people think that Mikolam is still, there, whilst he has gone on holidays. But because Fatu will work with interpreters, Fatu, will work, with Mikolam's interpreters. Okay, to work on letters. Okay, and just to do some paperwork, such that sometimes even if Mikolam is away, the usual flow of letters and correspondence is still going on. Because Fatu is working, with the interpreters. And the interpreters, also were among the, like the intellectual elite, because usually, they were sons of chiefs. Okay? Yes, the first interpreters, were sons of chiefs. Okay? And they, were sort of the interface between, the colonial officials who could not understand Wolof, and, or Mandinka, and, the local populace. And the role of the interpreter is very, very important, particularly if we are looking at, West African intellectual, history, because they, were the, first, educated elite, okay, and they exerted, so much power and influence, because they can make or break you. Chiefs feared interpreters, but the British officials also, did not trust the interpreters, because sometimes, from the records, the governor or the traveling commissioner, will be suspicious, that maybe the interpreter is not interpreting, what is true or what, was really meant. You see, but what I want to say about interpreters is just that many of them were sons of chiefs. Okay, and they were the backbone of the colonial establishment because they had a form of Western education, so therefore they qualified to be seen as among the pioneer intellectual elite of colonial West Africa. Okay, and we see how Fatu used the interpreters to run the affairs of the district despite her illiteracy. Okay. Here, the evidence shows the duties and work of, sort of, what I can call the interpreters. We can call them like compromised intellectuals, okay, who work within the colonial system. They had to play ball. They were not, radicals. They were just like civil servants, doing their job, to interpret. Okay, but the interpreters, their story is not yet, over, because something happened which also, fits into our story, of Fatukan. Because the chiefs insisted, the colonial chiefs insisted, we don't trust, other people to interpret for us. We want our own children to be our own interpreters and our own court clerks. So this is why in 1927, okay, yeah, you can, yeah. This is why in 1927, yes, the British governor, Sir Cecil Armitage, opened a school in one of the islands in the Gambia, okay, called Armitage School. Now, this is the first government school in Gambia, 1927. And McCarthy said, I mean, the governor said, he told the chiefs, you don't trust others to interpret for you. So I want you to, send your children, into this school. I will educate them, and afterwards they will come back to, to work for you. Okay? So that's how, this school, came into being. Okay? At first, it was just meant to train sons of chiefs, to be literate enough to be interpreters. Okay? And the schools, still exist. Okay? But it also played a very, very important, role in, in the intellectual history of the Gambia. Because you see that it started as a school for sons of chiefs, churning up interpreters, and court clerks. Because every chief, ran a court, you call it a district court or like a district tribunal. So when you are a chief, you send your son, and remember, only sons, okay, only sons. You send your son to Armitage. After 7 years, he will graduate and then come back to work under you. You see. So this was a concession, which the chiefs, were able to win, from the colonial authorities. And it was a, win-win, situation for both the chiefs and the colonial authorities. The colonial authorities now had, dependable interpreters, because they thought that, the son of a chief will be, loyal, okay, because chiefs were loyal. Now the chiefs also, had a sort of a victory, because for them also, their own children are now being educated, and they can. You can remind me the time, please. Yeah. Okay. So that's how Armitage came into being, and the intellectual history of Gambia, cannot be, written without the mention, of this, school, and for the sons of chiefs. Okay. And from the record, our friend, the Chief Sawal, who blew the whistle on the British, traveling commissioner, sent his children there, and later they became interpreters and became chiefs also. You see, so Armitage educated the sons of chiefs to become interpreters and later to become chiefs, such that by the 1940s, all the educated chiefs in Gambia, came from Armitage. Okay, and I want to link it to the desire for interpreters and the role of the interpreter, like in the Fatukan case. The interpreters, helping Fatukan, to run the district, even though he was illiterate, by writing letters and so on. Yes. Now, when the school was when Armitage was being, established, like I said, the idea was, sort of to groom a new generation, of loyal, like educated elite, who come from chiefs' families, okay, so that these people will also, be loyal, servants of the colonial, and loyal servants of the colonial administration. And now the Fatukan story, like I said, raises so many issues. Okay, not the least was how this illiterate, simple woman, was able to, run the affairs of, this region, through the official interpreters who would read over official letters to her. Yeah, she was still getting letters, even when McCallum is on leave. Fatukan will still get letters. Yes, and the interpreters will read it to her, and she will dictate, to them, replies to these letters. Okay. So that was, one, important, point. Now another thing also to, point out is, like I said, it's threaded in a lot of, cultural, issues. I mentioned the issue of the extended family, the issue of concubinage, okay, which were all, very, very, significant, during this period, of colonial, history. And also the issue of entitlement, which is very, very important. It's really an African, heritage, like a sense of entitlement. You feel entitled, to certain, opportunities, to certain, sort of benefits by virtue of your relationship, by virtue of your blood relationship, or even maybe, work relationship, you see. So that also is a cultural, phenomenon, which is attached to the Fatukan, story. And now, in conclusion, I just want to say that when I first come across this, in the story of Fatukan, what really made me to be, very much interested in it, and what I found particularly strange also, was the level-headedness of the British, like governor at the time, who allowed, the probe to happen. Yes, that is a question I am still, trying to understand. Why didn't the governor just ignore the petition? Okay, but instead, he was, fair-minded enough to compose an inquiry, which, of course, led to, the demise, of one of the most, experienced, British, colonial civil servants, in the Gambia. That's a question I am still, thinking over. Why didn't he, just ignore it, as they were doing to so many other petitions? And finally, here also the issue, of the role played, by the early intellectuals, like Small. They saw themselves as watchdog to colonial society. Okay, when a chief, is sort of troubled by a British official, it is people like Small, who will take the trouble to write a petition, and the petition can go up to the desk, like of King George, the 5th or the 6th of England. Yes, some of these petitions, if they write petition to the governor and he didn't take action, Small will write, this time to Buckingham Palace. You see, and even some of these petitions sometimes, even found themselves like in the pages of British newspapers. Okay, like the Guardian of London. Like in the 1920s and 1930s, we've seen 2 or 3, petitions, from Gambia, being published, like in some of the leading British, journals at the time. Yeah. So, Mr. Chairman, without much ado, I want to, thank you for your attention. Thank you.
I would like to thank Professor Hassum Sisay for his most interesting conference. Agradecer ao professor Hassum pela conferência com a qual ele nos brindou hoje. E gostaria de abrir, então, uma sessão de debates. Acho que a gente pode fazer uma primeira rodada de perguntas, com 3 perguntas. E se tivermos tempo, depois, sobrando, podemos fazer uma segunda rodada. Alguém gostaria de fazer alguma pergunta para o professor Hassum?
Eu queria só perguntar ao professor pôr o aparelho.
Há um aparelho com transmissão?
Eu queria perguntar ao professor Hassum, aliás, o Cizé, qual é a longevidade desta saga no imaginário coletivo da Gâmbia. Se há uma persistência que, enfim, que se alastra até os nossos dias, e se essa persistência, enfim, mantém, digamos assim, a história original, ou se foi de alguma forma distorcida, ou se efetivamente continua bem presente, não é, nesse imaginário coletivo. E se continua, gostaria de saber, enfim, os desdobramentos que esta mesma saga está a ter, sobretudo nas novas gerações.
Obrigada, professor. Eu estou curiosa sobre um aspecto. Falou das 3 concubinas, mas não se falou de filhos. Não se falou de filhos. Não nasceram filhos dessas relações todas? Se nasceram, como é que esses filhos foram enquadrados naquela sociedade? Essa é a minha curiosidade. Obrigado.
Professor Hassum, muito obrigada por essa interessantíssima apresentação. Eu gostaria primeiro que você falasse um pouco mais sobre as suas fontes, os arquivos onde estão essas fontes, que a gente tem muito estudante, né, que tem interesse de fazer investigação em Guiné, em Gâmbia. Isso é uma questão. A segunda, enquanto o senhor apresentava a sua conferência, eu lembrei da Nha Bibiana, da Nha Rosa, estudadas pelo Felipe Avic, que tem estudado questões de gênero e poder na Senegâmbia, em Guiné-Bissau. No caso dessas mulheres, elas viviam em Cacheu, né? E, mais recentemente, o caso da Crispina Pérez, e todas elas se casaram com homens europeus e tiveram filhos, né? No caso da Crispina Pérez, a única filha que ela teve morreu ainda bebê. E o Felipe Avic tem pensado, estou falando do caso de Guiné, mas hoje existem muitos estudos para Angola, assim como para Moçambique, né? Tem uma rede de estudos sobre gênero em África, e os casamentos dessas mulheres com esses estrangeiros, que se instalam na costa e nessas regiões, né, de entrepostos comerciais, importantes entrepostos comerciais. Bom, o ponto é o seguinte: essas pesquisas têm pensado nessas mulheres a partir do papel de uma agência africana feminina, que muitas vezes só é possível ser acessada quando ela se torna um problema para esse sistema colonial. Mas essas fontes, elas permitem ao historiador fazer, inclusive, biografias dessas mulheres. Para finalizar, você não tem interesse de fazer uma biografia da Fatum Khan, né? Porque é impressionante o caso dela, especialmente quando o senhor explora a questão da história cultural, né? E deixa de lado essa perspectiva colonial da amante e ver a partir da lógica interna, né? Obrigada.
Eu quero apenas somar uma pergunta minha, a pergunta que já foi feita pela professora Odete, sem medo. Eu tenho um amigo tuareg que é filho de uma relação desse tipo. E isso, a integração dessa pessoa na sociedade tuareg ocorre de uma certa maneira, e eu não vou entrar em detalhes nisso. E eu conheço também casos de administradores coloniais entre os tuareg que escreveram, bom, é um caso, que escreveu uma novela que é claramente autobiográfica a respeito dele, da mulher com quem ele teve filhos. E há o caso famoso do francês Delafosse, conhecido como historiador, administrador colonial, que tinha uma grande família africana. E os membros dessa família podem ainda ser traçados, essa coisa toda. Então, como a professora Odete perguntou, eu pergunto também, quando nasciam crianças, o que é que acontecia? Que lugar essas crianças tinham? Em algumas ocasiões foram elas, talvez, levadas para a Europa. É só isso.
Bem, mais uma vez, cumprimentar pela brilhante exposição. Gostaria apenas de fazer um comentário sobre essas, numa perspectiva colonial, as amantes desses administradores oficiais, muitas vezes militares. Na África francesa é conhecido o termo la petite épouse. O Delafosse mesmo usava esse termo que ficou depois, quando ele retornou. Ele retorna para a sua família oficial, digamos, o Delafosse, e deixou, assim como outros tantos. Eu tenho trabalhado com imagens da imprensa colonial e tenho encontrado muito desses filhos na imprensa colonial em imagens satíricas, da imprensa ilustrada, da imprensa satírica metropolitana, francesa, alemã, portuguesa, ou seja, o quanto essas relações, podemos chamá-las interraciais, interétnicas, enfim, aqui o termo não é muito apropriado, mas elas são motivos e alvo de algumas críticas dessa imprensa ilustrada. E aparece sempre, então, esses casais mistos, vamos assim dizer, com seus filhos. Eu tenho imagens de São Tomé, tenho imagens do Togo, tenho imagens do Senegal, várias sobre esses casos, né, bem aqui conhecidos e já citados.
Obrigado. Então, vamos à resposta do professor Hassum.
Okay, thank you very much. Like Professor Leopoldo was asking, yes, how long did it last? Yes, now in one of the files in the archives called a Report on Upper Salom District, PUB 1313, Gambia National Archives. He said, like in the that Mikalom arrived in the Gambia in 1908. Okay, and he left in 1919. Yeah, so I was able to see that at that time frame. So I am sorry the affair, would have lasted within that decade. Yes, yes, and he also asked whether it existed afterwards. Like I said, yes, I have found four cases. The last one, dated to 1943, like a same affair, and this time the superintendent of police of the colonial police in Gambia, who even had children. I'm like with a local, Wolof girl in Banjul. Yeah. I also, came across that, recently. Yeah. So I can say that from my research so far, this continued, to exist, even after the Fatukan case, and how it, will have, impact on the present generation. I think that's interesting. almost also obvious. I think, just to, I'm sure that sometimes the colonial officials, were not reluctant to, start and maintain, relationships with their subjects. Despite, on the surface, they may have looked arrogant and aloof, but below that, these things happen. So I think that's something that the present generation can learn from it. And now, what the Madam Minister has asked. And now, according to the same file, which details the Commission of Inquiry, they said Mikalom had an issue, ISSUE, one issue, which I think is a nice word for child, with one of the women, Fatim Low. That's in the file. Yeah, that the relationship with Fatim Low resulted in one issue. Yeah, that also I was able to see in the file. On the Commission of Inquiry. An issue idea, I think there means child. It's like a soft word for child. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to try to locate what happened to that issue. Yeah. Yeah. Now about the sources, I have detailed four archival files on this. Yes, I have PUB 1313, PUB 1314, a report on Upper Salem District, and PUB 1314, all in the National Archives. Now I have also come across some secondary material, by a British political scientist who did research in Gambia in 1958, and he wrote a paper called "Some Notes on the Influence of Women in Gambian Politics, Institute of Social and Economic Research Conference Proceedings." Yeah, 1958. It's called Mr. J.H. Price. He also has mentioned at length, the Fatukan story. Maybe one thing I can do is to, look at oral sources. I come from, that area. They are my people. Yeah, that chief who is mentioned is an uncle to me also. So maybe it's interesting to do some field work. How much does the local, knowledge have on the Fatukan saga? Yeah, on the Fatukan saga. And I'm happy you mentioned about a biography. I definitely, that would be that should be possible. You said the African agency, to see that this was like an illiterate, simple woman. Yeah, but who had the, the smartness, to, find her way, through the, labyrinth of colonial power and authority. Yeah, and the whole issue of the children. Yeah, yes, definitely. I think that's like another thing I can see, like this issue, mentioned in the report. What came of him or her. Yes, thank you.
Temos tempo para mais uma segunda rodada de questões, se houver interesse. Professora Vanicleia, mais alguém? Tiago.
Oi, professor Hasson, gostaria de parabenizá-lo pela apresentação, bastante instigante. E eu tenho uma questão bastante breve. O jornal teve um papel central nessa trama toda, né? Então, eu gostaria de perguntar de quem era, para quem o senhor Sball escrevia esse jornal, quem era esse público leitor? Uma vez que o senhor disse que os índices de alfabetização eram bastante baixos. Então, tiragem, circulação e o uso social e político desse jornal, né? A quem ele servia, de fato, nessa sociedade?
Thank you.
Obrigado.
Thank you.
Eu estou aqui pensando no trabalho de um historiador brasileiro chamado Alberto da Costa Silva, quando ele analisa o papel dos lançados. Os lançados, em inglês, eu acho que são chamados de go-betweens. São essas pessoas que, os europeus que passam a viver na costa.
Middleman.
Exatamente. O Alberto da Costa Silva, ele e outras pessoas, o Roquinaldo escreveu um artigo recentemente chamado Ilhas Crioulas, que é justamente analisando esse fenômeno dos casamentos na costa. Ele vai de Angola até, se eu não me engano, até Gana, e ele analisa sob o ponto de vista da africanização desses homens também. Né? Ele diz que, embora a literatura colonial tenha observado sempre como as populações africanas se europeizaram, assim, entre aspas, né? Como que elas aprenderam a língua estrangeira e modos estrangeiros, mas também como esses homens passam a viver os costumes locais né? Não só a língua, mas os casamentos, e passam a, inclusive, utilizar remédios e os sacerdotes locais para se curarem de doenças que eles têm. Bom, esse é um aspecto interessante que o Roquinaldo discute no artigo dele, que é dessa outra perspectiva, né, que olhar de como esse europeu absorve essa cultura local, não entende? Assim, não é só não é uma coisa de uma mão única, né, de como a Fatu e eles próprios se influenciaram, e ele também estuda os filhos dessas pessoas, né? O que acontece com esses garotos ou garotas, né, filhos desses colonos brancos. É uma perspectiva de análise da história cultural. Só isso.
Sim, queria só te perguntar mais uma coisa. Esse período, mais ou menos, que tu, enfim, estás a narrar, coincide basicamente com uma coisa que aqui os portugueses chamavam de cafrealização. Ou seja, o branco que se punha muito a meter-se com negros no espaço colonial em África, esse branco estava a cafrealizar-se. Aliás, na Guiné nós temos um prato que é justamente cafreala, quer dizer, a comida dos pretos. É a galinha feita à maneira dos pretos. Portanto, a cafrealização é o branco, é o processo de degenerescência. Aliás, havia também em Portugal uma corrente, nos anos de 1940, liderada por um antropólogo, Correia, não lembro o nome completo dele, Correia, que estudava a questão da degenerescência. Eles consideravam, por exemplo, que a colonização portuguesa era um falhanço, justamente porque os portugueses, para lá do lusotropicalismo, etc., que vieram a defender mais tarde, mas porque eles, efetivamente, misturavam-se e propiciavam a tal degenerescência. O que eu te pergunto, do ponto de vista moral, era censurável no ambiente colonial inglês este tipo de misturas? O jornal que fez referência, ou que denunciou a atitude do comissário, teve, digamos assim, juízo de valor relativamente ao que aconteceu. E quais foram as consequências disso tudo ter vindo no jornal local? O comissário, o governador foi demitido, Fatucan, de alguma forma, foi censurada. Né? Eu gostaria de ter essas informações.
Bom, é mais um comentário que vem com essa conversa aqui coletiva, mas isso mostra, e mais uma vez gostaria de congratular o nosso conferencista, porque, como diz o Pierre Bourdieu, um estudo de caso, quando é muito bem feito, ele deixa de ser um caso. E aqui mostra o quanto esse seu estudo sobre Fatucan nos permite fazer essa série de outras abordagens, né, e articulações e conexões. A Vanicleia lembrou o embaixador Alberto Costa e Silva, e eu, de chofre, lembrei quando ele comenta a invasão do Marrocos ao Império Songhai. E quando, então, esses homens que vêm do Marrocos acabam, nas palavras do Alberto Costa e Silva, se songaizando. Né? E quanto, então, essas relações... E o nosso Sérgio Buarque de Holanda já falava muito bem disso também, quando esses portugueses aqui também com essas relações com os nativos ou os povos autóctones, e que passava muito, é claro, por essas relações, digamos, entre aspas, aqui mais afetivas, com todo, né, o cuidado que nós temos que ter com essas relações. Mas eu concordo com a Vanicleia, e aí a minha pergunta, talvez, se não seria um approach, essa abordagem, de o que nós poderíamos chamar também de transferência cultural, né, ou de know-how transfer, porque é duas mãos, né? Ou seja, esses homens brancos aprendem da cultura local com essas mulheres, mas essas mulheres também aprendem da cultura, como podemos dizer, dos adventícios, ou, enfim, em alguns casos, dos conquistadores, também. Né? Então, é de mão dupla, seria mais esse know-how transfer que a gente pode ver por essas relações também, de poder, é claro, né? Mas relações de poder são relações de saber também. Obrigado.
Okay, thank you very much. And now, Tiago's question, the newspapers. Mr. Small's newspaper was called the Gambia Outlook and Senegambia Reporter. And Senegambia Reporter. You know, it had a long title. You know, and it covered news, Gambia, Senegal, and Portuguese Guinea. You know, he had this, you know, grand vision of, you know, these three countries, you know, forming one, you know, cultural space. And the audience, you know, was local, regional, and international. Local, in terms of the clerks, you know, the clerks, teachers, you know, the few educated people. Yeah, like in Batos, that's Banjul. But the newspaper also used to circulate to Freetown, to Accra, and to Lagos. Yes, and maybe also to Portuguese Guinea. Yeah, I think so, because, yeah. And also, he sent copies to London. In fact, the entire corpus of the newspaper, you know, can be found at the newspaper library in London. Yeah. So you can see that its circulation was small, but very influential, because it reached the elite. Yeah. And also another you know, important thing, you know, going through these newspapers at the time, the whole issue of chiefs in colonial period, and even now. I was just going through, you know, Professor Leopoldo's, journal, Sorondo. There's an article, on the role of chiefs, in modern-day Guinea-Bissau, and the whole issue of chieftaincy, which I raised in the, presentation, is still relevant. Like, we don't know what to do with them. I read in that article that, like in Guinea-Bissau, chiefs have been reinstated. Like even in Gambia, since the demise of Jammeh, people are saying, what do we do with the chiefs? Some say it's a colonial inheritance. They have no role to play in, like a new, democratic state. Some say no, they can still play some traditional roles. But what I want to point out is that just as their role, as I pointed out in the presentation, was sort of mixed. Now and then they are going on nicely with the colonial masters. Now and then they rebel. Now and then they rebel. Yeah. So their role is still like in a state of dilemma. What do we do with the chiefs? Yeah. Now he asked, how Fatukan, was received. And in fact, I saw, like in the Gambia, Outlook newspaper, like an issue, September 1919. Okay. And the headline was, Fatu Khan, the Wolof woman who shamed British colonial servant. Yeah, it's just like a short story. Yeah, which is in fact at page 8 of the newspaper. Page 8 of the newspaper. I'm just trying to give, like in maybe like 100 words, her story. Yeah, so, it was like, not condemning, not just like a dispassionate, short story on her. But by the society, I think the problem would have been, they cannot, censor her openly, because she was, staying in the chief's compound. And I think because of the fear, that people had for chiefs, when you are related to the chief, usually you can get away with so many things. As well, people will have to, say it in whispers, quietly. Yeah, but not openly. Well, like I said, maybe when I do the, the field work, the oral, field work, I can get more into that. Yeah, and I agree with, with Professor on the cultural transfer, that it worked both ways. Like I said, McCallum taught Fatu how to sign. I remember she was able to sign. That came out in the Commission of Inquiry. That Fatu Khan later was able to sign her name. And it was McCallum who taught her how to sign. Just like she taught McCallum Wolof. Yeah, so I want to agree, of the cultural transfer, that indeed there was a cultural transfer. But the loopholes, are there, like, we can look at, what happened to the children, to the issue. Yes, what was his or her fate. that would be interesting topic of inquiry. Thank you.
Bom, nós infelizmente já estamos estourando o teto do nosso evento, então é com muita tristeza que eu declaro encerrada essa conferência de encerramento, e eu gostaria de passar a palavra para a professora Vanicleia para ela fazer algumas considerações gerais. Eu gostaria de agradecer, em primeiro lugar, ao nosso conferencista, would like to thank Professor Hassum, e agradecer também a todo o público que esteve presente durante esses 3 dias e que tanto contribuiu para tornar as discussões do nosso seminário muito ricas.
Eu queria convidar a sentar-se na mesa a Tassiana, Felipe e o professor Leopoldo, que são os organizadores desse evento, para que a gente possa fazer algumas palavras finais. O Alexandre já está aqui. Bom, nessas considerações eu quero começar, obviamente, agradecendo aos meus colegas que compuseram essa comissão organizadora. Obviamente, sem eles não teria sido possível organizar um evento dessa envergadura, ainda mais em tempos de recessão e de cortes nas universidades públicas, por esse governo impostor. Em seguida, eu agradeço a todos os monitores e, em terceiro, aos financiadores desse evento, que eu cometi o lapso de não mencioná-los individualmente na abertura desse seminário. Então, aqui eu quero agradecer nominalmente ao Inep, à FAPEMIG, à Escola Superior de Direito Dom Helder Câmara, em nome do professor José Adércio e do reitor, professor Paulo Stumpf. Aproveito e informo que amanhã, às 19 horas, o professor Paulo de Moraes Farias e a professora Karen Barber vão fazer lá uma conferência sobre direitos culturais em África. Eu não falei o título corretamente, mas é algo em torno disso. Em quarto lugar, agradeço ao nosso programa de pós-graduação em História, a ADRI, que é a nossa Diretoria de Relações Internacionais, onde está alocado o Centro de Estudos Africanos, e aos apoiadores, nomeadamente o IEAT, que é o nosso Instituto de Estudos Avançados e Transdisciplinares, ao CAIS, que é o Centro Acadêmico de História, que, de forma bastante generosa, ofertou moradia solidária para os alunos da Unilab, a Biblioteca Central, aqui em nome do professor, do diretor Wellington Marçal e da sua vice-diretora Anália Pontelo, que foram fundamentais em tudo que nós solicitamos de mais delicado dentro da universidade, e também pelo diálogo que temos estabelecido em torno do acervo do Centro de Estudos Africanos, que fica dentro da Biblioteca Central, da DAC, que é a Direção de Ações Culturais, ela que tem desenvolvido toda a parte cultural para a gente, de forma, obviamente, em parceria, e a CAC pela logística. Bom, feito essa parte mais protocolar e importante, eu volto a dizer que o objetivo desse evento é fortalecer a pesquisa nessa universidade, assim como os diálogos com intelectuais que estudam a África Ocidental, africanos e não africanos. Como pensado, esse evento ele foi pensado durante uma visita à Guiné-Bissau, porque nós já havíamos também realizado aqui o primeiro encontro sobre África Ocidental, que foi organizado por Tassiana, Tiago e Raíssa. E nessa ocasião que nós visitamos o Inep, em Guiné-Bissau, organizamos um convênio que amanhã, né, será efetivamente celebrado entre o reitor e o professor Leopoldo Amado. Dentro dos produtos que foram pensados desse convênio era a realização de um evento em parceria com o Inep, que foi realizado. O segundo desdobramento seria a publicação de um livro desse evento. Então, todas as pessoas, conferencistas e palestrantes, estão convidados a enviarem os seus trabalhos para esse livro. O terceiro ponto é a continuação desse evento. Então, no próximo ano, esse evento será realizado em Guiné-Bissau, numa parceria que eu espero que se fortaleça e que ele realmente aconteça. Um quarto ponto que é esperado desse convênio é que possamos, de fato, promover o intercâmbio de pesquisadores. Eu estou falando da UFMG, mas não porque é o meu lugar institucional, e de promover o intercâmbio de estudantes da UFMG com instituições da África Ocidental que aqui estão presentes. Então, o professor Rassum Cissé, ele já sabe que ele tem o compromisso de receber estudantes lá, assim como o professor Leopoldo sabe que tem muitos estudantes aqui que querem ir para o Inep realizar suas investigações, seja nos arquivos, seja no campo, conversando com as pessoas e tudo mais que envolve um processo de investigação. Bom, tendo colocado a ideia desses desdobramentos, são muitos outros, mas aqui é o que eu quero destacar. Eu passo a palavra para o professor Leopoldo, para que ele também possa fazer suas considerações.
Muito obrigado. Eu começaria por dizer que, para mim, este evento superou todas as expectativas. Todas. Aliás, antes de termos chegado aqui, eu já tinha dito, no meio, sensivelmente no meio, eu já tinha dito à professora Vanicleia que, pelo meio, já poderíamos também considerar que todas as expectativas tinham sido superadas. E ainda bem que, chegados agora ao final, mantemos esta ideia. Isto foi devido ao esforço de todos, mais uns que outros. É evidente que os organizadores têm responsabilidades acrescidas e queria destacar entre esses a professora Vanicleia, mas também a participação dos meus colegas da Guiné, das pessoas que, enfim, estando adstritos ao Centro de Estudos Africanos aqui, e estão ligados aos estudos avançados, também participaram e colaboraram. Isso tudo leva-me a crer que consolidamos mais um passo no sentido do estreitamento da nossa relação. E eu acredito que o evento em que nós participamos o ano passado, a vossa ida, o acordo de protocolo que vamos agora consolidar, criam em conjunto e cumulativamente condições para que no futuro, efetivamente, possamos fazer mais e melhor. Queria referir-me, entre os produtos aí contemplados, a 2 ou 3 aspectos. Não sei se é no próximo ano, creio que é no acordo, falamos de uma bienal, ou seja, 2 anos aqui, 2 anos lá, alternadamente. Bom, mas se for também para o ano, estamos prontos. Mas, em princípio, não sei, nem me lembro o que é que está no acordo, não é? Mas a ideia que tenho, mas se for também anual, porque não é? Responderemos positivamente. Eu creio que também vale a pena aqui referir o Minter. Vamos agora começar a pensar nisso. Para nós isso é de uma utilidade extraordinária. Nós somos uma instituição de pesquisa, já estivemos e continuamos a estar, em certa medida, na vanguarda da investigação científica na Guiné-Bissau, um país conturbado, em que os resultados positivos da investigação, enfim, ainda não beneficiam as políticas públicas do país, de alguma forma, mas em que acreditamos que tudo isso será levado em linha de conta. Então, para se fazer uma investigação de vanguarda, para o Inep é fundamental associar o ensino, estudos avançados, o ensino, a investigação de ponta. Isto vai ao encontro daquilo que os Centros de Estudos Africanos pretendem fazer. E eu creio que aquilo que são as nossas expectativas e as vossas, que são coincidentes em muitas questões, permitirá com que possamos estabelecer melhores pontes para reforçar a nossa cooperação. E queremos aqui reiterar o nosso compromisso, o nosso firme compromisso de trabalhar nesse sentido e de reforçar esses laços. Muito obrigado.
Bom, eu gostaria só de fazer algumas breves considerações finais. Eu acho que o que foi os aspectos institucionais e acadêmicos mais importantes foram contemplados. Gostaria só de retomar uma última questão que a professora Vanicleia mencionou e o professor Leopoldo agora falou de forma mais clara a respeito desse projeto que está sendo encampado pelo programa de pós-graduação em História aqui da UFMG, de desenvolver uma possibilidade, um projeto de mestrado interinstitucional com o Inep. Eu acho que essa perspectiva não só será muito interessante e frutífera para o Inep, mas também para o nosso programa de pós-graduação, que é um programa de pós-graduação que tem consolidado a sua posição de excelência acadêmica dentro do contexto da produção nacional, e eu acho que essa responsabilidade de colaboração internacional é uma das atribuições, né, de um programa que se coloca com um programa de pós-graduação que se coloca nessa posição. E nós esperamos, obviamente, que o projeto desse mestrado interinstitucional também se desdobre em possibilidades e perspectivas de intercâmbio de pesquisadores, tanto da Guiné-Bissau para o Brasil, quanto de pesquisadores brasileiros que possam estabelecer esse diálogo do outro lado do Atlântico. E só para encerrar, então, eu gostaria de, depois de todos esses agradecimentos que foram feitos, eu gostaria de reforçar o agradecimento de toda, acho que falo em nome de toda a comissão organizadora, o agradecimento ao público e o agradecimento a todos os pesquisadores, alunos e apresentadores de comunicações que inscreveram seus trabalhos, aos participantes das mesas redondas, aos conferencistas, porque sabemos, afinal de contas, que ao lado de toda a importância institucional dessas parcerias, um evento acadêmico como este que realizamos tem como seu propósito princípio o intercâmbio de ideias e a discussão de pesquisas acadêmicas. E sem a inscrição e a participação e a dedicação de todos os pesquisadores que vieram apresentar suas pesquisas, tudo isso perderia seu sentido, sua razão de ser. Então, eu gostaria de encarecidamente agradecer todos os participantes que contribuíram ouvindo, discutindo e apresentando suas pesquisas no seminário. Muito obrigado.
Bom, agradeço a todos a participação. Vocês viram, é trabalhoso organizar um evento desse porte, é muito proveitoso quando a gente vê os frutos, né, à vista, né. Gostaria de ressaltar aqui para a gente que é estudante, né, eu sou estudante de doutoramento, esse tipo de relação é muito proveitosa, amplia os nossos horizontes, né. Cria possibilidades de pesquisa que a gente não teria em arquivos brasileiros, em arquivos acessíveis da internet, então, para a gente é muito importante. E, bom, gostaria de agradecer a todos, aos monitores, principalmente que, né, ficaram nessa correria com a gente, e principalmente ao público, aos conferencistas, aos palestrantes, aos meninos que apresentaram a mesa redonda, e também ao pessoal que está organizando o evento ali de cima, tradução simultânea, organizando PowerPoint e aí por diante. Ok? Obrigado.
Ok. Como Felipe, eu também gostaria de agradecer, como aluna de graduação e também de mestrado aqui da instituição, é com muita alegria que eu vejo esse evento acontecendo hoje, sendo que, quando eu comecei a graduação, o campo aqui na UFMG praticamente não existia, então a gente deve muito à Vanicleia por isso, e agora o Alexandre também. Obrigada pela presença de todos e todas.